I look at the kids and those kind of things. Whether you like it or not, love. He loves. Day in and day out. $1 million. Bro, every single year I look at like this, the people can see whether or not they really want to like laugh, motivated. The people know you can't fake this. You can't fake whether or not you're good at what you do. You can't fake communicating and putting on a show for 2 hours by yourself. You can't fake how you really are. Good you know, people all coming on and doing dance videos and asking, anytime, get that, anytime, get $1,000, anytime, get $2,000. Give it to yourself. We go regular people 24 hours a day and you want a man to fix another grown man and to show you and to teach you and to pour into you and to help you to understand how you supposed to do it. How you supposed to do that. Man, you gotta get up and wake up and go and do that. of these super chats that we want to see over with the show. Um, for that to experience hey, maybe you want to work for us? Oh, I want you guys. Got that? I want, I know underappreciated. Let's take a flight over to social media. I love it. I love the game. I love the game. You know what I'm saying? Down to don't look at it on my profile. There you go. We're going to go in and never had an opportunity to go Black Beauty is in the building. Flyers. Tell us what quick. I'm gonna approach this one. Y'all ready? Well, first, you gotta be up there with Gavin is in California like wildfire. But I want to know if it's wildfire.
Well, it's good to see, but this map shows where all the fires are burning across Los Angeles. The two big ones, they are still the Palisades fire and the Eden fire. Firefighters are battling the flames from the air as they try to contain as much as possible before the wind kicks up again.
Yeah, there is concern now about the return of San Andreas as the search for the missing intensifies and the death toll is driven to 24 people. The head of a major private power company will join us live. His company is facing questions about its electrical and the cost of its part to the fires. We have team coverage all over the fire zones. Ginger, standing by with a red flag warning from the National Weather Service that is expected to last until Wednesday. And we start with Chief National Correspondent Matt Tuckman to the Palisades. Good morning.
Good morning. More than 8 million people in LA County are facing this critical fire risk today. The National Weather Service giving it that rare designation, a particularly dangerous situation, same as it was last weekend. You know, the firefighters have been on the line here for a week already, exhausted, like folks here at Fire Station 69 getting a little shut-eye right now because they have been getting massive amounts of reinforcement in terms of personnel and equipment. For the exhausted fire trying to stuff out remaining hotspots. San Fernando brings us today. Expected to reach 75 an hour.
That's perfect.
Over the weekend, the Palisades fire again flaring up. It's not here again, but maybe the fire approaching a Redwood and triggering an unprecedented aerosol. The largest of the Palisades fires, scorching 44,000 acres, is only 13% remaining. That fire was split up by tornado. Reinforcements pouring into both Mexico and Canada, Citizens authorities in LA County now investigating the possible causes of the fire. Right. Your bell camera and cell phone video from Jeffrey and Cheryl Creed showing the frantic moments when they say they saw this small fire near their Altadena house at around 6:19 p.m. Tuesday.
Oh, at that time, when we saw it, it was just at the base of the house. And within minutes, it had spread.
The crew racing outside, filming what they saw, those terrifying moments, and look closely beyond the tree line. That's the transmission tower. What is it?
I'm not even really as concerned about how the fire started as I am about where it really. The reason that it is because the fire can start but if you're not prepared, other people don't gather before, gather before, and hear that here in LA and all these different areas, if they're unable to, as a matter of fact, Gavin Newsom is in an interview, and in that interview, what the fire said was, what is going to be the effect going forward? Let's get into an interview.
The other guys just going back in the press. He was the same thing for doing it. 6 different wildfires raging right now. Give the resources to combat all the fires of the South. There's 14,000 people in the line right now. We cover the national fire with 1,580 out there up in the district side. That's just with folks from Mexico, so it's also the religious some of our hand crews, 9 states that provide the ski max system support. So we got the resources. We have more support than civilians here that have changed and now resourceful resources, particularly the area. So what's the mission of the National Guard here? It's combination factors that are around safety, doing line, and working with the hand crew.
Let me tell you something. Y'all know why I thought this freaking company act? You want to know why I thought this freaking company act? It wasn't because of this upcoming video that my son got dealt with in his place. It's because of that.
And the boy,
These are the things. It's not. We're not trying to do that. It is the Gavin Newsom. It is
well, I'm in this guys. There's a lot going on here. We're here. We're here.
Riddle me this. Riddle me this. Riddle me this. I have seen no way in 30 impromptu 30 minute interview of Gavin on the last episode. No way. I have seen no way in 30 minutes, 30 interviews Gavin on the last 7 days more than I've ever had. Y'all not in the place. Not in the place. Not in the place. So close. You don't see the play. I don't.
No, listen. Really, other logistics, package happened, and first back, which is folks who are doing the part, which is military.
Thank God.
And the guards, we have operations. So the combination of all factors, and of course, and so the 600 plus just focus really making sure the law.
Look at this thing. It's spread out. And you know what really boosted things up prior to them wind up running for a re-election? A war. A war. Towers. Planes. All kind of issues just came up. I'm telling you the truth. I want you to understand things, okay? Think about this for a second. Never had this much visibility in his entire life. Gavin Newsom has never had this much visibility in his entire life. For all of the criticism that he's getting now, he's not worried about that. I believe, and this is just a theory of mine, a C student's theory, I believe that Gavin Newsom, Batman right here, is looking for a long-term accolade in the form of your vote for President of the United States of America. If he can fast-track things, rebuild, get things in position to where the Olympics wind up going off without a hitch, they recover, people get their homes back, they then get assistance from the federal government in helping them to rebuild. I believe that Gavin Newsom is planning and putting himself in position to be the hero long term. And that is the platform that he's ultimately going to run on in 2028 to become president of the United States of America. I believe if you are looking at this from a long-term perspective, that Gavin Newsom and company, whomever it is ultimately putting themselves and setting themselves up for long-term success. Our problem is that we think so short-term. We thinking, oh, he's doing wrong, oh, we don't necessarily care for him, his likability is down. He's not worried about the now, he's worried about 4 years from now. He worried about putting himself in position, I believe, 4 years. Would you think that his political career is supposed to be over because Kamala Harris possibly is running for governor of California in 2026? He's not paying attention to no 2026. He's paying attention to 2028. That's the plan.
You, I mean, if you're governor of California, you're fighting to be the mayor of California. We're all in this together. We're all better off. We're all better off. We're all better off. We're working together to take care of people and to make sure people are supported. We're empathetic. And we're here not just in the immediacy of the crisis, but we're here after the crisis, as opposed to creating a crisis in the middle of this by trying to divide people and play political, take cheap political shots.
Do you have faith in Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass?
I have absolute faith in our community. I have faith in our leaders. I have faith of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I call for him to come out, take a look for himself. What we want to do in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, all the resources the folks will imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full of state reservoirs here in Southern California. That disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally, that one reservoir that served the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation to understand what.
The school of Kamala Harris word salad is strong with this one. The dodging of accountability is strong with this one. Looks very presidential to me.
What's happening with that local reservoir that was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
My understanding is that you have put a call into President-elect Trump. Has he called you back?
No, that was months ago. That was after his victory. So I look forward to him again coming out here in the spirit of.
Well, forgive me for interrupting you, but you did invite him to come out here. Have you had any response?
No.
Multiple times, President Trump has threatened to withhold aid for California wildfires, both as president and now again as president-elect. You worried that he might actually do that?
In Utah, he's done it in Michigan, he did it in Puerto Rico. He did it to California back before I was even governor in 2018, until he found out folks in Orange County voted for him, and then he decided to give the money. So he's been at this for years and years and years. It transcends the states, including, by the way, Georgia, right? Similarly. So that's his style, and we take it seriously to the extent that in the past it's
Look at all this animation.
I've been pretty expressive about that in the context of someone threatening our first responders in terms of supporting the immediacy of their needs.
That's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders here.
Well, I mean, it's what he said. He said, I'm not going to support the firefighting efforts. I'm not going to support the state of California as it relates to its emergency management. He made this pretty clear during the election, unless they do my bidding. And again, these are familiar terms, and they're familiar to a lot of other states, not just my state, and they're familiar to not just me as governor, but the previous governor of California, Governor Brown, that was battling with these same things. So you just work through these things, and I'm just blessed. I mean this. I'm blessed. I'm about 40 million Americans who happen to live in California that Joe Biden's president of the United States and did what he did immediately. And to the extent that we can work with the same relationship and that same spirit with Donald Trump, I hope we can.
I'm telling you that this guy is gearing up to run for president of the United States of America. I'm telling you that this guy is putting himself in position to run for president of the United States of America. If not him, who? Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, Kamala Harris again. Watch what I say. Watch what I say. Let me continue to read these super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Shout out to my dog, Delta Fox, in the building. Delta Fox says, nice setup. You went from Anton in Detroit to Patrick David levels for your studio. Well, listen, if you want to compete, then you're going to have to make some adjustments. You know what I'm saying? Can't let them steal everything. This is why you're a bad chaser. Number one, Big Bro keeps growing so we all can follow. Shout out to Cordius Contemplations. You know what's so funny about that, Delta Fox? You know what's so funny about that? Let me bring up that super chat again. One more time. Delta Fox says, nice setup. You went from Anton in Detroit to Patrick David levels for your studio. I will tell you this, Delta Fox, and this is the honest to God truth. I got invited to Patrick David Studios over in Fort Lauderdale. And I had an opportunity to go through, meet a sales team, talk to the people, tour. And it's funny because they were trying to sell me on getting assistance and coaching and all of this other type of stuff with Patrick David and sales funnels and how it is that I can improve my business and all that type of stuff. And it was a really, really, really cool tour. They had great salespeople, and I got to see a lot. I got to see where he recorded. I got to see what his process was. I got to see where his building was. I got to see everything. And so I went through there twice. I had an opportunity to go through there twice. They allowed me to record and take pictures because I guess they thought that I was in a vlog or something, but I didn't. And I recorded and I took pictures because I wanted to understand exactly how they ran the studio. And I put it in my mental Rolodex. I put it in my, I stored it away. And then I went through and I started to visualize how I could do it better myself. When I went over to Dr. Phil, I didn't go to Dr. Phil because I cared about the show. I went to Dr. Phil because I wanted to learn exactly how he did his studio and his setup and how he set up his whole thing in Dallas and transitioned it over from Hollywood and California.
Man, you ain't had no gun.
I wanted to know everything. I need to know. I will go down there. You ain't even got to send me a flight. I'll fly down there myself. Let's figure it out. And the whole time, can you give me a tour of how you doing it over here? Can you give me a tour of how you doing it over there? See how they got their camera set up? How they got camera work? How they do things? How they run their boards? How many people it take? And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how can I simplify that process? how can I reinvest into it, and how can I bring this whole thing back to Detroit? So take that for what you want it to mean. I observe. I need to know. I need the information. Give me the information. I know what to do with it. Gavin is planting the seeds for his future. I agree. Shout out to Jerry Early says, thank you, Anton. Just get back to Los Angeles from Hawaii to check on my home and ashes everywhere. I live close to the ocean. The governor of California is piece of horse manure. I can't stand that guy. Shout out to Jerry Early. I appreciate you. Brandon Chapman then says, I got the super sticker for you. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you. Kenya, what up, Kenya from Cali says, this is the perfect setup for Newsom's 2028 presidential bid. Shaking my head. Just go. Nice shell says, I just see Kamala all over again. I don't. I don't think she's running for president of the United States of America again. Gavin is a joke. He has to go. We need to elect the right Republican in Cali. Chat for more says, good morning, AD. I like it. I like it. I like it. Loving the new look and camera angles. Can't wait to see future shows just caught up on the screen. Shout out to my dog, Chat for more. Gavin is a smooth criminal. Shout out to Badavanian and them. Says, the way they lied and said the word earth is a sphere, when we know the word actually means the ground we walk on. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. Jacquel says, greetings and blessings, brother AD and family and the bag light chasers. It seems that Gavin had taken a play out of Trump's playbook, even the tone. Hiram the Terrence says, Gavin is a snake oil salesman. Sadly, people are buying into this nonsense. Mr. Joe goes on to say that he's banking on Democrats having short-term memory. Despite this disaster, Democrats are going to vote for him. They're going to give Vance the Trump treatment. Anthony Boone says, Gavin reciting the campaign speech to buying this. Happy Girl is in the building says, think about this. Entertainers' houses are probably insured by Lloyd's of London. It's the others that have regular insurers that entertainers can rebuild. Entertainers is broke. We're going to talk about that. Jacquel says, looking real crisp and sharp. AD Studio is on 10. Mark Muhammad says, great insight. AD is not giving up no easy sound bites. Sade said, no need to ask. He's a smooth operator. Shout out to Mika. Mika says, good morning, AD. I love this new setup. Congrats and stay blessed. Shout out to my girl, Mika. I love Mika. Brother Cole says the studio is on fire, big bro. Great way to represent Black excellence. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that contributes into the platform. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Let's continue on with the show. All right. So, speaking of opponents in 2028, J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance not only resigned from the Senate, but he's also criticizing Gavin Newsom and the fires. Y'all tell me if this is a setup. Y'all tell me if this is a setup for the 2028 presidential election. But first, let's go to J.D. Vance making this announcement that he's no longer going to be in the Senate, but he's now going to be Vice President of the United States of America, which we know the swearing-in ceremony is roughly 7 days from now.
Now, Vance resigned at midnight from the Senate effective today as he prepares to become vice president. And now it's up to Governor DeWine to appoint his replacement. Now, 10 TV political reporter Doug Petcash joins us live in studio now with an update on the governor's decision.
Yolanda and Angela, Governor DeWine says he will have an announcement probably next week. And here's what I can tell you about what we've learned today. Vance sent a resignation letter to the governor yesterday saying he was resigning from the Senate effective today. DeWine attended a dinner with 21 other Republican governors last night, hosted by President-elect Trump at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. In a clip from C-SPAN, a reporter asked DeWine about replacing Vance. Here's what the governor said.
We certainly have been working on this for some time, and I'll have an announcement probably next week. I'm looking for someone, first of all, who will be a worker in the U.S. Senate. I spent 12 years there. I think I have a pretty good idea of what it takes to be successful. I want someone who understands Ohio, who has a deep knowledge of our state.
DeWine also said it has to be someone who is willing to run in 2026 in a special election, and then again 2 years later when Vance's term would have been up. The governor did not get into who he is considering for the Senate seat. Lieutenant Governor.
So I'll keep you guys up to date on what's going on from that perspective, but J.D. Vance pulled up yesterday to talk about pardons, but more importantly, he also talked about California. Check it out.
Okay, I sat down for an exclusive interview with Vice President-elect J.D. Vance yesterday, his first since leaving the Senate officially, and we started by talking about the new administration's plans for handling disasters like the ones in California and recovery in the Carolinas. Well, welcome back to Fox News Sunday now as Vice President-elect. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about the fire situation in California because your administration will be coming in, taking over the reins as the feds are trying to meet that along with many other emergency situations they have going on. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has written to President Trump saying, let's not be divisive right now. Come out and visit. Let people see us working together. Any indication the president-elect may do that?
Well, I knew the president would love to visit California. And first of all, our hearts go out to everybody who's been affected by the storms. I've seen some of these videos of people where, folks have lived in those homes for 25, 30, 35 years and everything is gone. And whatever your political affiliation, it's hard not to see those images and just be heartbroken for our fellow Americans who are going through a very tough time. And I do think, frankly, the federal government has to do a better job. President Trump is committed to doing a better job when it comes to disaster relief. That's true for the hurricane victims and flood victims in North Carolina. It's true for the fire victims in California. We have to do a better job. We need competent, good governance. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize the governor of California for, I think, some very bad decisions over a very long period of time. I mean, some of these reservoirs have been dry for 15, 20 years. The fire hydrants are being reported as going dry while the firefighters are trying to put out these fires. There is a serious lack of competent governance in California, and I think it's part of the reason why these fires have gotten so bad. We need to do a better job at both the state and federal level.
So,
J.D. Vance is absolutely right, but I also believe that he's setting the stage and making sure that he puts people in their place. Gavin Newsom, who the Republican Party is probably anticipating him run for president in 2020. Yes, I believe so. And so, not only is J.D. Vance not going to miss an opportunity to hold him accountable, which he should, because they have been completely incompetent. They have not done a good job with regard to managing this whole situation. They didn't do a good job with managing the budget in California. See, that's the part that people are missing in this whole conversation. People are missing that part in this conversation. They're not really understanding. This is a way for them, in my opinion, over in California. This is a way for the government over in California to scapegoat themselves out of being accountable for the fact that they were already operating at a budget deficit, as well as over in Los Angeles. Whenever you see a natural disaster or something catastrophic happens anywhere, it's an opportunity for the taxpayers to then bail them out from their own bad decisions that they were making prior to this natural disaster happening. This is bad for the people over in California and Los Angeles and the Palisades and all of these places. But this is great for the government in California. This is absolutely positively devastating for all the people that are coming home and realizing all of these stuff and all of these things. But it's absolutely exciting, especially considering that California was operating at a budget deficit in the billions. They were facing a budget deficit in the billions. And Los Angeles was cutting the budget because they had mismanaged funds. And so when you see a natural disaster happen, often at times, what it does is it presents them an opportunity to make themselves look good to the general public, to divert attention away from the thing that they were doing bad, and at the same time shore up their budget with federal tax dollars. And so you and I will now be on the list to make sure that they're taken care of in the name of helping and fixing this economy and doing things. We need to disperse funds away from Ukraine. They just got another $500 million on their way out the door. We need to make sure that we fix California and go and meet the requirements of what's going on. And where's FEMA? We got to do more for them. We got to make sure that we partner with the federal government because this is something that was out of everybody.
Reason why these fires have gotten so bad. We need to do a better job at both the state and federal level.
So there are skeptics who worry about what the administration will do when it comes to handing out aid to California. They're citing back to something that the president-elect said in September when he said we won't give him money to put out all his fires, and if we don't give him the money to put out his fires, he's got problems. Is there any consideration of withholding aid to Californians?
No, look, President Trump cares about all Americans, right? He is the
Thank you,
president for all
Pam. Thank you,
Americans.
everybody.
And I think that he intends to have FEMA and other federal responses much, much better and much more clued into what's going on there on the ground. You know, President Biden has been asleep at the wheel for a number of different crises, and I think this final California fire, as it's really getting out of control in Biden's last week and a half, I do think it drives home just again, we've had incompetent governance for so long. You know, President Trump often says that the coalition that made him the president was just a common sense coalition. There were conservatives, there were moderates, there were even a few liberals. But the thing that united us is just this basic idea that yes, government should be smaller, but when government does the things that it should do, it ought to do them well. And that's one of the things that President Trump and I are going to fight to get back to.
And it's amazing. It's funny because nobody sees the play until the play is already in place. Nobody sees the play until the play is in place. If you don't see the play, I'm explaining it to you. It's not about whether or not they were incompetent or mismanaged. Who's focused on homelessness, for example, right now? The big headline was budget deficit, broke, homelessness, incompetence, unaffordability, crisis, regulation, doo-doo on the streets of California. Who is focused on any of those things in California right now? You know what the message is? You know what Democrats are saying? You know what they feed to the people? Hey, look, if you don't think that Gavin Newsom, when he gets up in the morning, he makes sure that he puts his hair gel on and shaves his face, and so that he can present himself to the general public, if you don't think that the play is ultimately, or that he's thinking in his mind, or that he's tapping in with all of his assistants and his whatever it is, the people that surround him, his cabinet, his aides, or whoever it is that surround him, if you don't think that at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the morning, they say, hey, all right, so what do we have to do? We do have to take care of this. This is what's happening with the firefighters. This is what's happening with the fires and all of this stuff. Oh, and before we leave, let's have a conversation about how we can present ourselves and who we need to meet with the press, and what's the message that we're trying to send, and how do we make sure that we put ourselves in this position, in the best position possible, and paint ourselves in the best light. If you don't think that that's the conversation that's being had, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. Now they get to divert away from all of the things that we were holding Californians accountable for, and they get to focus on, hey, listen, we're not worried about that right now. Our goal is to save lives. Our goal is to mitigate the fire. Our goal is to rebuild. Listen, if they have any semblance of success when it comes to stopping this fire, rebuilding efforts, and then making themselves look good, set themselves up for the Olympics and all of these other events, I guarantee you that that will be the conversation, not all of the other stuff that happened before. They're not going to be talking with the homelessness crisis and with the homelessness rates and $165, $180 million that they spent on homelessness and the $28 billion that just so happened to go missing that they were dedicating to homelessness, because nobody is going to be talking about it. Everybody is going to be talking about fires. Everybody's going to be distracted with celebrities. It's going to be another scandal somewhere, and then they're going to all be focused on whether or not we were successful when we came out of this together. Because that was a time that was unprecedented. This was the worst time in history when it came to fires over in California. And it's our job as people that to remind them, to remind you, to remind the general public, the same way that we did during the last election, and we didn't forget over the last 3 years what they were doing. See, they thought that you were going to be distracted and they weren't going to be accountable for all of the things that happened for the entirety of their presidency, of that cabinet being in place. We went back to 2021 and we said, hey man, you was the border czar. They thought we got it. They said, no, we wasn't the border czar. That was just an unofficial title. No, you was. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. And we're going to do the same thing to Gavin Newsom. We're going to do the same thing to all of these people. We're going to hold them accountable. I'm going to make sure that as long as I have
Good shot, boy. It was two of y'all. My bad.
while you were in office, and all of the money that went missing, all of the homelessness crisis, and all of the things that you wasn't successful at, and we not just going to pay attention to what happened in the last 2 years that you was in office.